You're live, Chair.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome to this North West Area Planning Committee meeting on 17th of July. My name is Councillor Maddie Thompson and I'm the chairman of this committee. There are a few housekeeping matters to run through. We're streaming this meeting live as well as recording, and by being present in the meeting, you are giving your consent to being recorded. When invited to speak, please use your microphone and speak clearly, referencing a page or paragraph number when referring to the agenda papers. Keep your contributions as clear and concise as possible and ensure your microphones remain off when not speaking, as this is important for the live streaming to be heard clearly. Finally, can I draw your attention to the notices on the agenda papers regarding the different floor levels within the chamber, and advise that the fire exit is the door behind the top table. Members, may I draw your attention to the members' update with further information on item 6 on the agenda. Right, apologies for absence, please, Mr. Jones.
Good evening, Chair. Thank you. We have apologies for absence from Councillors Hughes, Siddle, Stevens and White. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Right, item 3 is the minutes of the last meeting. It's recommended that the minutes of the meeting held on 19th of June and found on pages 7 to 14 are approved as a true and accurate record. May I take them as read, members? I so propose. Seconded, please. Councillor Morgan. And can we agree those by assent? Lovely, thank you very much. Right, item 4, declarations of interest. To disclose the existence and nature of any disclosable pecuniary interest, other registrable interest and non-registrable interests relating to items of business on the agenda, having regard to paragraph 9 and appendix B of the Code of Conduct for members. And members are reminded they're also required to disclose any such interests should they become aware during the meeting. Members, anybody? Nothing, thank you. So, to our first planning application. This is Oak Cottage, How Green Road, Purley. So we have Mrs. Cacaldi to give the presentation, and then Mr. Bushby will be speaking. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, everyone. So this is an application for the erection of a 2-storey extension and a glazed link. It is proposed to demolish the existing garage and erect a cart lodge. The application site is situated on the western side of How Green Road, which is located between Purley and Cold Norton. It is situated outside of the defined development boundary, and the site is currently occupied by a detached 2-storey 4-bedroom dwelling. It's set back within the plot with a single detached garage to the front, forwards of the front elevation. And here we've got the satellite aerial imagery of the site. So the site is here. This is the proposed site plan. How Green Road is here, and the existing access would be retained. However, the existing garage, which is currently roughly in this position, would be demolished, and we can see the proposed cart lodge to the south in this location here. This would create a driveway and parking area to the front of the dwelling. This is the host dwelling at the moment, so this part, and we can see the proposed glazed link here, and then the proposed 2-storey extension to the south. The proposed 2-storey extension is subordinate in position to the host dwelling in the fact that it's set back by approximately 3.6 metres from the front elevation. Although it's a substantial extension, it does not appear cramped or contrived within the plot, and there's sufficient circulation space retained around the dwelling. So this is the proposed street view from How Green Road. We can see the relationship with the neighbouring property to the north. Okay, so this is the existing and proposed elevation for the front of the property. We can see the oak framed link. Oh, lost my mouse. There it is. So this is the oak framed link here, which provides a striking feature connecting the existing with the proposed. At present, the entrance into the dwelling is discreetly positioned on the southern side elevation. So just on the side here. The proposed entrance would be on the front elevation, so here, providing a focal entrance point into the dwelling. The proposed extension mimics the gabled frontage elevation of the host dwelling, with matching fenestration proposed, integrating the proposal into the existing character. The 2-storey extension would have a width of 5.5 metres, and the glazed link has a width of 2.8 metres. The glazed link and the extension are subservient in height to the host dwelling and would be set back from the front elevation. The host dwelling would remain as the dominant element in this composition. We can see a contrast of materials is proposed. This is a sage green weatherboard proposed on the 2-storey extension, and this identifies the extension as a obvious modern addition to the host dwelling, which has a rendered finish. So this is the rear existing and proposed elevation. So we've got the existing here, and this is the proposed. We can see the level changes with the proposed extension set at a lower level to that of the host dwelling. Just looking at the 2-storey element here. So on the first floor, we can see a Juliet balcony is proposed from the master bedroom. And then on the ground floor, we have bifold doors providing access into the garden from the lounge. And then on the host dwelling here, there's a window proposed at first floor level, providing light and ventilation for the bedroom, with patio doors on the ground floor, which would serve a bedroom 4/office. So this is the existing and proposed elevations for the southern side. So we have the existing here, and this is the proposed. So we can see where the glazed link would go in the centre here. And then the outline of the extension we can just make out in this faded line, the back. And then this, we can see this more clearly in this elevation. So this has a length of 12 metres, and there are 3 roof lights proposed, providing additional light and ventilation for the master bedroom, ensuite and dressing room. The single window we can see on the ground floor would provide light for the open plan kitchen, diner and lounge. This side elevation that we can see here would be over 30 metres from the neighbouring property to the south. So this is the existing and proposed elevation for the northern side. There are some minor alterations proposed here with the removal of a window. So this window here would be blocked up. And there are alterations to the porch that we can see here. This would provide access into a boot room. So here we have the proposed elevations for the cart lodge, and then the entrance would be on the side northern elevation facing towards the driveway and the parking area. And here we have the proposed floor plans. So the entrance hall would be in the centre. Oh, where's my mouse again? Great. Oh, there we go. So this would be the entrance hall here. And then the proposed extension would provide a kitchen, diner and lounge with the accommodation in the host dwelling reconfigured to provide a downstairs bedroom, study, snug and boot room. At first floor level, in the 2-storey extension, it's proposed that this would be a master bedroom with ensuite and dressing room. And in the extension there, in the host dwelling, we've got two bedrooms proposed. Just looking at the photographs now. So this photograph, the site was taken from the road. Some clearance works have taken place. So we can see the existing garage, which is proposed to be demolished, and then the host dwelling behind it. And then the proposed extension would be in this position here. And then we can see where the proposed cart lodge would be in this location here. And we can just see the neighbouring property to the south. This is the southern side elevation of the host dwelling. So the entrance into the property, existing entrance, we can just see in the photograph. And then the glaze link would be attached to this elevation. And we can see there are level changes in the site and the existing outbuilding, which is in the rear garden. So just in conclusion, although this is a substantial extension, there's sufficient circulation space within the site, so it doesn't appear cramped and contrived within the plot. It appears subservient to the host dwelling in terms of its position, height and depth. Officers do not consider that the proposal would result in detrimental harm to the character and appearance of the locality or the host dwelling. And given the layout, design and distance of separation, it would not give rise to a detrimental impact on neighbouring amenity. and sufficient car parking and amenity space is provided to accord with the standards. So the officer recommendation is approval, subject to conditions as detailed on page 23 and 24 of the committee report. I just point out condition 6, which seeks to ensure that the extension is not occupied as a separate or independent dwelling. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Mr. Bushby, would you like to come forward, please? Just pick any of the chairs, make yourself comfortable. Can we get the timer up? I'm just getting the timer up. You have 2 minutes from when you... Yes, please. There you go. If you can just hang on till we get the timer up. There we go. Okay, and we'll start when you begin. Thank you.
Good evening. I've lived in the village for nearly 15 years now, and I'm a local builder and have built a number of properties over my career, 2 of which still stand in Purley and Cock-Clarks. I bought Oak Cottage last December, and it was and is still in a state of bad repair and badly overgrown, with the view to renovate and extend it to make it a family home, because as it stands, it is not. The bedrooms lead through from one to another with no hallway, having to go through 3 bedrooms to get to the bathroom. The windows and fascia are rotten, the roof leaks, and there's considerable damp from years of neglect. By extending and landscaping the entire property as proposed, I feel it would enhance the street scene and the road frontage desirability. The proposed materials are completely in keeping and in sympathy with the present scene, so I see nothing but positives for the property and to my family home and continued support for our lovely village. There are a couple of properties that are in the village with the glass detail already. The glazed link separates the old from the new, so you can still appreciate the original cottage. I'm not proposing to demolish and rebuild a huge family home. I feel this is a great addition, and the diversity of style to the property adding to the future proofing of the home, allowing more light to enter the property in the central area. The addition of the ground floor bedroom and bathroom will also be a helpful addition as age progresses on my part. My architect has been in liaison with the case officer, and some changes have been made in response to their concerns. I understand that we have the planning officer's full support, and I would appreciate your support tonight also, so that I can progress with the necessary repairs and building my new family home. Thank you.
Thank you. And perfectly timed, if I may say so. Right, members, I've spotted Councillor Durham first.
Thank you, Chairman. Not really sure why this is here, but I think I'm full of admiration actually for the owner for what he's proposing. Good luck. It looks like a big job. I think it's an imaginative use of that particular site and good use of the rooms. I know exactly what it's like to have to go through various bedrooms to get to a bathroom, because my childhood home had exactly the same, which is not really satisfactory. It's been no objections. It's supported by the parish council. It's compliant with NPPF and LDP. I'm very happy to propose that we agree it.
Seconded.
Thank you. So that's recommendation for approval is proposed by Councillor Durham and seconded by Councillor Morgan. Anyone else like to contribute? Shall we take that to the vote then, members? Those in favour of the proposal to approve? That's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you. So that is approved in line with the officer's recommendations. So next we have item 6. This is Holmeswood House, Back Lane, Wickham Bishops. So we have Ms Mumford to present in the chamber, and then we have Mr Cameron, who is the owner.
Thank you, Chair. So this is an application for the installation of a roof light. For the installation of a roof light at Holmeswood House, Back Lane, Wickham Bishops, to the western facing roof slope toward the southern elevation of the existing dwelling. The proposed roof light would sit in a roof valley obscured by another roof slope that faces eastward. This is an aerial photograph of the site with the application site roughly outlined. Here you can see the neighbouring paddock to the west, private access to Wickham Grange, which lies adjacent to the site to the east, Back Lane also to the east, and the summer house to the north. The open countryside can be seen to the south. And this is the existing block plan of the site, showing the siting of the dwelling on the application site and the degree of separation between the dwelling and its various neighbours or neighbouring areas. There is no proposed block plan due to the minor addition of the proposal. The proposal would provide light and fresh air to the room in the roof where it is proposed. Here are the elevations as existing. To the top right, you can see the southern existing elevation where the proposed roof light would sit nearest. And here you can see the proposed elevations of the building with the southern elevation again to the top right and illustrated the proposed roof light. You can see that it sits within this roof valley and from the plans would not be visible from the north, east or west. It would be slightly visible from the south. However, as you will see from subsequent plans, visibility from the window outward would be limited. This is the proposed second floor and roof plans. Here you can see that the flat roof with the existing roof lights constructed under permitted development shown with the blue arrow. The red arrow points to the southern elevation and the western facing roof slope with the proposed roof light. And the green arrow points to the eastern facing roof slope directly opposite the proposed roof light. And here is the proposed section showing the angles of the roof light and the extent of outlook the roof light provides. It can be seen from this cross section that any outlook is blocked by the east facing roof slope, therefore causing no harm to the neighbouring amenity whilst allowing light and air to the room it serves. And here we just have some photographs of the site just to illustrate with the dwelling labelled accordingly. So we have the first photo is the southern elevation showing the roof valley and the location for the roof light, and this was taken from the garden. We also have on the right here the southern elevation and garden with the trees to the east of the site bordering access to Wickham Grange. This is the eastern elevation of the dwelling and the garden with the paddock, as mentioned before, to the to the west. And then we have the southern elevation and the garden again, but this is taken from the pictured tree to the right, which shows that the actual visibility of the roof light would be very minimal as far back as you can stand within the dwelling's garden. Here is the paddock to the west and the western boundary. We've also got pictures taken of the front eastern elevation and the southern elevation taken by the furthermost boundary of the house. Here are photos showing the natural screening between the site and Wickham Grange access and the southern boundary and the vegetation with the open countryside beyond. Here are just the front elevations showing the garage and the driveway and obviously the boundary with the summer house. The front eastern elevation from the driveway where you can see there would be no visibility of the proposed roof lights, and the neighbouring garden at the summer house, again no view of the proposed roof lights. Here is the access to Wickham Grange on the eastern boundary with the site and the view of the southern elevation where the proposed roof light would sit. As you can see, it would not be visible from the Wickham Grange access. And then lastly, we have views of the site from back lane, so from the highway, where you can see is the application site is fully screened. So in summary, the site is adequately screened from nearby dwellings and the highway, with the exception of the summer house to the north, which is not affected by the proposed development. The roof light design is a standard design and would be a permitted development compliant. The proposed roof light would only be visible from the southwest. All that would be seen would be glimpses of the window casement. There would be no risk of overlooking with regards to neighbouring amenity due to the roof light's positioning, as it can be seen from the provided cross-section plan. It would provide the benefit of light and ventilation to the room and the roof. There is no perceived harm from the proposal to neighbouring amenity, the surrounding area, nor the dwelling itself, and we recommend approval. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Mr. Cameron, please, if you'd like to come up, pick a chair. We have the timer, so you have 2 minutes exactly from when you begin.
Okay. Good evening, Chair and members. I'm the owner of Holmeswood House, and I'd like to speak to you with regards to my application for a Velux window on the second floor of my property. This window cannot be seen by anyone and certainly does not overlook any neighbouring properties. We have had 2 visits from the council regarding the proposed Velux window. The inspector could see no reason to object to this, all of which is evidenced in their report. I can see multiple neighbouring properties with Velux windows in their roofs. The difference being that our one would not be seen by anyone or from anywhere other than standing in the specific corner of our garden. The planning officer will note that the construction of the property was undertaken in line with all of the relevant planning approvals, a small additional piece of work being undertaken under permitted development rights once the work and property occupation were approved by the building inspector. The additional Velux window is being sought as a further development to my property, requiring planning consent, albeit would have normally also been permitted development. As this was brought up in the local parish council meeting, I would just like to state that the skylights on the flat roof section of the second floor were installed on the suggestion of the solar panel installers in order to gain access to the panels to keep them clean and maintained, because as you know, solar panels operate more efficiently if cleaned regularly, and also to clear the hidden valleys of debris leaves from surrounding retained trees. I hope this clears up your concerns around this planning application. I hope you agree that my property makes a positive contribution to the village.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Members, Councillor Morgan.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I will crave your indulgence if I go all Max Bygraves on you, from cue mystified looks from anybody under the age of 60, because I want to tell you a story. Back in the day, there was an application for a 4-bedroom house, which was turned down. It then went to appeal. The appeal was passed. The 4-bedroom house therefore started to be built. And in the course of doing that, in the conditions, the planning officers failed to impose the conditions that the vehicles used in the construction should be parked on the road and not on the verges or causing any other disruption. Because of that, there was significant amount of disruption caused in the centre of the village, with contractors' vehicles parking in the library car park on the verges and causing considerable amount of damage, which I hasten to add they have put right. But nevertheless, it caused a significant amount of inconvenience and disruption to the residents there. Subsequently, there was another application for a change to or a variation of condition. I called that in because I felt that it was a requirement. There should actually be an actual application for this, but it was turned down by members. And at that time, in the course of the meeting, I pointed out that there was possibly going to be Velux windows put into the roof. We were then heckled by the actual agent in the meeting. And the very next, saying that there weren't going to be any Velux windows, and the very next day we were able to produce photographs showing the roof trusses with Velux frames already installed. This was hastily covered over by the developer, and matters moved on. We now have another situation where essentially what was originally a 4-bedroom house is now a 6-bedroom house right in the middle of the village. And I say this really just as a sort of cautionary tale for the benefit of the officers as to how the planning system, in the view of the members of the village and the parish council, has been cynically used to increase the size of the original plan and the original building as was passed by the inspector.
Thank you. Councillor Durham.
Well, thank you. Yes, Councillor Morgan is absolutely right, and this particular property has caused quite some consternation of a degree that I don't remember locally. In the main, there have been one or two. As Councillor Morgan has said, in this chamber we sat and we questioned the developer from Jarvis Developments because they maintained there would be, and you will remember it yourself, Chairman, no accommodation in the roof space, or no windows in the roof space. And as Councillor Morgan has said, the very next day we had the photographs of those gaps in the trusses, which no doubt are still there but are now covered with tiles. The developer sat here and told a blatant untruth. And she also said that she was a reputable developer, and I take issue with that to the extent that the next time Jarvis Developments come here, they will have a lot more scrutiny than they might otherwise, because I'm afraid this committee were not given the full information at that time. That being said, there's absolutely no reason to refuse this particular Velux window. For the gentleman has said, it is not on the side that we've been referring to. It can't be seen, and it's very unfair to take it out on the new owner of the property. The blame, and for the issues of the damage done to the verge and parking in the library car park, and bear in mind I'm responsible for libraries at the County Council, that caused considerable issue as well. So my argument is with Jarvis Developments, not with the owner and the applicant for this. So I'm very happy to agree this particular application, but with the caveat that, as I said, we will give added scrutiny to any further developments from this particular company. But I sincerely hope the new owner enjoys this very nice building in Wickham Bishops.
Thank you. I take it that's a proposal for the officer's recommendation. Yes, is that seconded? Thank you, Councillor Councillor Whiffen. Sorry, I do apologise. Seconded that. Did you wish to speak, Councillor Whiffen? Okay. So we go to the vote then, members. Those in favour of the officer's recommendation to approve? Anyone against? Abstention? Councillor Morgan abstaining, the rest of it in agreement. Thank you. So that is approved in line with the officer's recommendation. Thank you. So now our last application is Syringa, Chimney Lane, Purley. We're back to Mrs. Kirkcaldy presenting, and then we have Mr. Stokes, the applicant.
Thank you, Chair. So this application is for conversion of a bungalow into a 2-storey dwelling with accommodation in the roof, a single-storey rear extension and alterations. The application site is located on the western side of Chimney Pot Lane to the north of Cock Clarks. It is partially situated within the settlement boundary, with the land to the north, east and west of the dwelling situated outside of it. An application for an identical proposal to that currently being considered was approved under officer delegation in June 2021. This permission was not implemented and lapsed only recently on the 26th of June. It's also identical to a previous scheme that was allowed on appeal by the planning inspector in 2018. So here we have a aerial photograph, and we can see the site is here. So these are the existing elevations of the dwelling. It's an expansive single-storey 4-bedroom dwelling with a detached garage positioned forwards of the front eastern elevation. There are bedrooms in the roof accommodation with light provided by the roof lights. So this is the proposed site plan. The existing access into the site is here. And is proposed to be retained, and there are also no alterations proposed to the existing garage block, which is here. It's proposed to erect a 1.8 metre high fence here along this boundary, separating part of the existing garden from the dwelling, and the proposed amenity space would be to the west of the dwelling, so up here, and would be in excess of the private amenity space standards required. Here we have the proposed front and side elevations. There are no alterations or amendments proposed to this scheme from that of the previously approved application and the allowed appeal. In considering the allowed appeal, the planning inspector concluded that the front would have a narrower elevation facing the lane and it would be set back from the highway. The inspector also commented that the side elevations, which are these longer elevations, would face the woodland to the north and garden land to the south. On the side northern elevation, which is this one here, we can see the 3 gabled projections proposed. This would face towards the woodland. The planning inspector concluded that the proposal would not cause material harm to the street scene or the character and appearance of the surroundings. Here we have the proposed rear and side elevations. So the side elevation here would face south. And we can just see here the 2 ridges at the top, the 2 peaks, and these are from the northern side elevation and the protruding gables. And again, then we can see on the rear elevation, we can again see these protruding gables on the northern elevation. This is the proposed ground floor plan. So as I've already mentioned, the existing garage is proposed to be unaltered. The ground floor accommodation would provide a study, family room, ensuite bedroom, diner, living room and kitchen. And then on the first floor and second floor, we have 5 bedrooms, and on the second floor a games room and an observatory. So this photograph is taken from Chimney Pot Lane. So the existing garage is here, so it's forward of the front elevation. And then we can see the existing dwelling at the back, which is set back. This photograph was taken standing from the parking area to the front of the garage looking south, and we can just see the neighbouring properties to the south here. This is the southern elevation of the existing dwelling and the existing garden, and as I've already pointed out, part of this garden would be subdivided off with a 1.8 metre boundary fence from the main dwelling. And this is the southern elevation. Chimney Pot Lane and the existing garage are to the right of the photograph. And then behind the back of here, we can see the woodland. And then we can see the woodland photo. So this is the northern elevation, and then this is the woodland area here. So in conclusion, the previously approved application and allowed appeal for an identical proposal to that being submitted are material considerations in the assessment of this application. Taking into account these previous decisions, the development by reasons of its scale, design and appearance would not result in demonstrable harm to the character and appearance of the locality. And the planning inspector also concluded that there's a good degree of separation between the dwelling and its residential neighbouring properties, and there are no concerns raised regarding impact on neighbouring amenity. Adequate amenity and car parking provision is also provided. The officer recommendation is approval, subject to the conditions detailed on pages 41 and 42 of the committee report. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Mr. Stokes, please, you'd like to come forward, pick a chair. And again, you have 2 minutes from when you begin to speak. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Firstly, I'd like to just point out that as far as I'm aware, there's been no objections from any neighbours, just the parish council. And just to go over some things that have already been mentioned, planning permission was submitted and refused in April 2018. That was taken to appeal, and the planning inspectorate granted that approval in October 2018. I've got 3 quotes from the Planning Inspectorate. Number 1, the longer elevations would face the garden land to the south and the woodland to the north. Indeed, the striking fenestration of the proposed northern elevation would face this woodland away from residential neighbours. In its context, the design would not be unduly intrusive and it would be in harmony with its surroundings. It would cause no material harm to the street scene or to the character or appearance of the surroundings more generally, and the site is contained within the visual confines of the village at this point. Second quote, thus the proposed development would comply with the planning policies that are intended to promote good quality design, including policies D1 and H4 of the local development plan. Third quote, I have concluded that the project would not cause unacceptable harm to the character of the locality. In short, I'm persuaded that the scheme before me can properly be permitted. Then in June 2021, we obviously had to renew the planning permission. It was submitted and approved. A comment from the officer's report. There were no alterations proposed to the development under this current application, and the development plan has not materially altered, and therefore, taking into account the previously appealed decision, it is considered that the development, by reasons of its scale, design and appearance, would not result in demonstrable harm to the character and appearance of the locality, in accordance with policies D1 and H4 of the LDP. In summary, nothing has changed to the proposal, and obviously we feel it should be approved again.
Thank you. So, members. Councillor Durham.
Well, it's another one, Chairman, that I'm not really sure why it's here. I don't know what the grounds for the call-in were, but we're faced with an appeal decision and a subsequent approval by this authority, and it just ran out of time. So I'm very happy to propose that we accept the officer's recommendation.
Is that seconded? Okay, I will put it on the table.
Okay.
Councillor Whiffen, did you want to speak?
Yep, sorry, Chair. This is a very rural street and an extremely high building that we're proposing. I just want to check that that has obviously been taken into consideration, and also that the current trees are protected.
I can't speak for the trees. Any information on the trees?
I mean, I don't think that there was, there's no alterations from what was previously approved and what's been considered by the planning inspector. It is a high building, but that's already been found acceptable previously. So it would be difficult for officers to recommend a refusal on that basis, given the background to the previous schemes. In terms of the trees, there were no conditions imposed on the previous application relating to tree protection plan. I note that the arboricultural officer, we did consult them on this application, and they did request that that condition was imposed, but officers felt it was unreasonable given that it wasn't imposed on the previous approved application.
Thank you. Yes,
Sorry,
please.
is every application not looked at individually, or are we just going on what was previously approved?
I think there's one. Yes, you have to take the previous ones into account. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Chair.
There's one for Mr. Johnson.
Just for clarity, and without doubt, this application is completely unchanged from that had been approved twice previously, and initially by the Planning Inspectorate. So what we have before us is what has been seen before in its entirety. There were no other material changes as set out by the officer. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
I do hope that that's clear.
Thanks. So, anyone else wish to speak? So we'll take that to the vote. Those in favour of approval? That's 3. Anyone against? And Councillor Whiffen against. Thank you. So that is approved in line with the officer's recommendation. So, item 8, we're nearly there. Any other items of business the chairman of the committee decides are urgent? You'll be delighted to hear there are none. So with thanks to officers and members of the public, I close the meeting at 8:08.